Smith corks one into right down the line. It may go. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. There's a drive. Way back. It might be. It could be. Playing a high drive into left. Back goes the Craig. He's at the track. He has it. He's the world champion for 2011. A little bouncer slowly toward Bryant. He will glove it, go to Rizzo. It's in time, and the Chicago Cubs win the World Series.
This is the Team of Rivals podcast. No insiders, no anonymous sources, just passionate analysis from the bleacher seats. Here are your hosts, Ron Nuttall and Peter Geddes.
All right, everyone, welcome back to this week's show. We're starting this sucker about 1 hour and 40 minutes behind schedule. That's on me. So I've kept our guests up a lot later than we should have been finished by now, guys. What the hell am I doing? No, technical difficulties. Once again, like, what is this? Second, third week in a row, whatever. But, we've got a lot to catch up on. We've got a lot to catch up on, especially you and I, Pete, because
sports talk.
So we've had to pull up a couple extra chairs tonight. We've got on again is Elliott Dewey. He sat in for Pete last week when Pete disappeared from society. And my brother's on for a special conversation we're going to have tonight because we've had some another thing that Pete and I love very, very much. There's a lot of big news that happened today.
We were going to talk about that in front of the public.
We are.
The thing that you and I love very, very much. I thought that was the secret that only you and I shared.
Each other.
Oh, man. See, we had a flow. You ruined it, man. We had a flow going there into the intro. Jeez. But we do have a ton to catch up on baseball-wise, but Scott's not going to sit there forever. No. So, nope. That's right.
Yeah, once we start talking about baseball, he's done.
Yep.
I got my phone ready. You just get into that, and I'll check out here.
Well, you're just going to hear his forehead hit the mic. He's going to be out.
Yeah, but you won't recognize it because it'll just sound like a can being dropped on the ground.
Yeah.
Ding.
Brutal. Boy, if you could just reach through the camera once in a while. Just strangle. Let's get going. We've got in the world of baseball, so everything's done right now, but I just don't remember last year at least reading about this much speculation, and maybe just because it's surrounding my team, I'm paying extra attention to everything. I don't really. I think I listened to baseball on the radio on the way back and forth to work. No more frequent than I did a year ago, but there's a lot of talk about the Cardinals now being serious talks for Mike Stanton. Get with the times, man.
Mike.
Giancarlo. I know. He started out as Mike and Giancarlo Stanton, but a lot of talk around that. And I think a lot of guys, including myself, that were very skeptical that the Cardinals would make a move and take on a contract of that size and length, just doesn't really sound like a Cardinal thing to do. The vibe feels a lot different this week than it did last week. Am I still skeptical? Yes. But let's get into that a little bit, as well as some other things. Pete, big Cubs news. They hired a new bench coach?
No, they didn't hire a new bench coach. They just
First base coach? First base.
No. So here's the funny thing. When Rick Renneria was the manager, Brandon Hyde was his bench coach. So he was bench coach for a year. And when Joe Madden came over from the Rays, he brought Davey Martinez with him, obviously. But the organization did not want to lose Brandon Hyde, so they moved him over to first. So this isn't the first time that Brandon Hyde has been a bench coach. In fact, it's not the first time he's been a bench coach in his career. He was a bench coach with the Marlins before he came to the Cubs.
Hold on. I jumped way ahead. I shouldn't have done that. Welcome, everybody, to this week's show. I skipped the intro. I have skipped the intro for 6 months.
Ron, I don't think you need to do that. I think we can just get into it.
Episode 52.
You've now interrupted the flow. Good thing that you named this one Disaster, because that's exactly where this is going.
It's been a disaster since I fired up anything electronic tonight.
So anyway, Brandon Hyde, not new in the role, not new in the role with the Cubs, new in the role with Joe Madden, but I think that's I think it's a good thing because I think that they wanted to maintain a certain level of consistency within the organization. And there's been a lot of turnover on their coaching staff. And so they figured that at least in one place, they would retain some level of consistency. But it still means that there's probably going to be a new first base coach. Although I wonder if they're not going to go back to what the original plan was and bring Doug DeCenzo up from the minors, because he was originally slated to be the first base coach way back in the day, and then everything shifted around and Brandon Hyde got moved over. So I wonder if Doug DeCenzo isn't going to be moving up from the minors in order to take that role on. We'll find out, I'm sure, soon. And obviously they officially now have a new pitching coach.
Here's my favorite memory of Doug DeCenzo. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys might not remember this, but
him pitching
many
times.
I definitely don't. I definitely don't remember it.
Many times. Doug DeCenzo made multiple appearances out of the bullpen for the Cubs.
Okay. Well, that's not my favorite memory. My memory of Doug DeCenzo really comes from, I think it was Rob Dibble plunking him right in the middle of the back when he laid down a bunt for the Cubs. You know, Dibble was a head case, right?
Yeah,
I mean, he's an angry guy. He was an angry guy.
He was.
He's part of the Nasty Boys bullpen.
The roids probably didn't help.
Probably not.
Isn't he the one that got in the fight with Lou Piniella in the locker room after the game?
Yes, he was.
Who did Lou Piniella not get into a fight with in the locker room after a game? Not by the time by his Cubs years, he's probably a little more tired and didn't want to retire. I'm ready to go home. I'm ready to go home.
Guys,
Ron, just to close it out there. Well, so
yes,
okay, so Doug
out.
DeCenzo got plunked in the middle of the back, and more to that story, or that's what you remember? He got plunked in the back.
He got plunked in the back. I don't remember what it was for. It was. I just remember that it was obvious that it wasn't. He didn't just miss the first baseman's glove. I mean, it was dead square in the back.
So it was obvious it wasn't an accident.
No.
Cool story, bro.
Yeah, well, you know, I was fuck you.
And we're explicit already. We are 5 minutes into the show. Well done, Ron. Okay, so to close it out, Doug DeCenzo, 4 appearances for the Cubs as a reliever, career earned run average 0.0.
Amazing.
Wow.
5 innings pitched.
He was a lefty, right?
5 innings pitched, 4 appearances, gave up 3 hits, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. No earned runs. No runs, in fact, at all. So maybe they do bring him up as a first base coach, and if they need to, they can bring him out of the bullpen, because the Cubs certainly are going to be looking for help out of the pen.
Is that it? That was the end of your story?
Yeah, cool story, bro. Huh?
Was he he was a lefty, right?
He was a lefty.
He's like one of those defensive specialists they pull in at the end of the game, if I remember that correctly. I think he had
absolutely right.
I don't know what was his innings. He had a big innings. So I'm sure you're gonna look it up, but of course I'm googling my story too, because I know there was something else to it. I don't know if it started a brawl or what.
What, him getting hit in the middle of the back?
Dibble throws at runner and is ejected. There's actually a YouTube clip on this. Maybe we can get some audio on this real quick. Can I hang on a second? Damn, man. You are out of control tonight.
Me or you?
Oh, I love ads. Jesus Christ. Let's go.
Hey, we might not be able to
get
carry this on YouTube. That could be copyrighted material.
I just turned the sound down. Okay. Come on. So, here we go. You guys hear this?
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully.
Yep.
Squeezes on. The bunt is down. The run scores.
Oh, Jesus. You got to see it, man. You have to.
Share the screen.
It's on my iPad. Okay.
I'm sure
I remember why that
compelling listening on the podcast.
Guys, you gotta. Okay. Well, all right, fine. You're gonna make me share it on the screen. I'll do it. So, what I want to run through here though is a list of free. Now, this is you guys. God. Are you watching it? Isn't it ridiculous?
There's a GIF of it, and it looks like he's playing ragdoll baseball.
Yeah, like
back
he's
in
like
the
playing
day,
dodgeball,
and
right?
He like comes out and there's no way he's throwing to the first base.
No.
He is throwing
He had
directly
no intention.
at him.
There.
you
That's
can
what's
see
funny
the
about it.
rage.
Oh, God.
You can see the rage of him as he fields the ball to throw it to first base, and in the middle of his throw, he decides this is stupid.
No
and
intention.
He throws it at the runner.
Right. He had no intention of throwing that.
And as far as causing a brawl, the third, if you go into YouTube and you just type in Dibble DeCenzo, the third link is Tuffle Dibble Fight Part 1. So obviously,
It's amazing.
Obviously, it went well.
All right. So did you see it,
Scott?
Pete?
Scott doesn't know and
I'm going
doesn't
to-
care. I'm pulling it up on mine right now.
I am too. I'm gonna actually share my screen. I don't know if you guys will be able to hear the audio. Wow, that's weird. Am I in an infinite
He
loop
hit him
here?
in the back. He hit him in the leg.
I'm gonna stop that because that's not working. Yeah, I mean, the way he lined up the shot, that is brilliant.
Yeah.
That's why I remember. I just didn't remember the total context there.
Yeah.
But pretty funny.
Oh, I love Dibble's reaction here. Like he doesn't understand why he's getting thrown out. What? I was trying to throw it first.
Maybe we'll have to put that clip.
What's
You know
that for?
Now that we know it, and people are going to hear this tomorrow.
Hey, do you see who the home plate umpire is? No wonder he threw him out.
Who was
It's
it?
Joe West.
Big Joe
Oh,
West.
jeez.
Cowboy Joe West.
Cowboy Joe. Of course he threw him out.
All right, so here we're going to go, guys, because I've got a list up here. It's a hot stove tracker. It's from MLB, MLB.com. And you kind of heard me talk about this, Pete. This is if you want to get baseball news, like real, let's just call it objective view on what free agents might go where. I don't think you're going to get it here. But I want to go through the list. Guys, we can call, how do you want to call it? If you buy it, you want to call it, yeah, okay. If you don't, call bullshit, all right? We're going to go around the table here. Scott,
how about we just buy it or bullshit?
Okay, buy it or bullshit.
Hey, we got a new segment.
Buy it
Yeah.
or bullshit. Scott, you got to vote on these two.
Scott's going to start, right?
Yes.
We're gonna get Scott to weigh in
Scott
on every
has
one
to
of
go
these.
first. Yeah, you
Not
have
just-
to go first.
Not just with the buy it or a bullshit, but a detailed analysis of why he thinks that it's legit.
Nope.
or not.
Nope, he doesn't. He says say buy it or bullshit.
No,
I might. You'll detail it? Okay, cool.
Sure.
All right, so we're going to start off first here. JD Martinez. All right? JD Martinez is a perfect marriage for the San Francisco Giants.
Bullshit.
Buy it or bullshit?
I'm gonna buy it.
Why?
Bullshit.
Oh, he's
You guys wait your turn.
he's great in whatever position he plays.
Scott adding the kind of cogent analysis that we seek here.
That we would read on
Rivals
MLB.com.
Podcast.
That we would read on MLB.com. We'd read that.
That's right.
Caption.
I'm actually a contributor on MLB.com.
He doesn't know what MLB stands for, but he contributes.
yeah.
Pete, you called bullshit on that one.
Yeah, I think it's bullshit.
Why?
Because I think that the Giants are far more likely to end up trading for Giancarlo Stanton. Although there's a rumor that they may be looking at another right fielder.
Let's touch on that later.
We'll
I know
get
what
to
you're
that
talking
later.
about.
But
The
no, I think it's a lot more likely that they make the trade for Giancarlo Stanton. And if that's the case, why would they take on another big contract and sign JD Martinez?
Okay, Elliott.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna go to San Francisco. I think somebody like Boston is gonna go after JD Martinez. I think he goes over there.
It feels like that would be the landing destination, doesn't it? I'm going to also call bullshit on this one, not for the same reasons Pete has, but I don't. $200 million asking price right now, guys. I don't know if you read that.
Well, that's just speculation.
It is. I mean, well, is it speculation?
It'll probably be more like 155, between 155 and 165.
Yeah, no, I would say I would agree with that. But right now, you know how Boris takes these things, man. This guy's not going to sign until January. You know.
Right.
All right, we got to move down the list. We got a lot to go through. Scott,
Yes.
Yu Darvish. Best guess on MLB.com is the Cubs. Buy it or bullshit?
I want to buy it.
Why?
Because he's got a ridiculous name.
I like that. That's fair.
Yeah.
Pete.
You Darvish? No, you Darvish.
You Darvish? No. You Darvish. All right.
I don't know. I kind of feel like I think that the Cubs are going to be a little bit nervous after watching him blow up in the World Series. I think that there's some fire there as far as, because there was talk. Remember during the season, I can't remember who it was against. Maybe it was the Marlins or something, where he got lit up for something like 10 runs in a game. And there was talk afterwards that he was tipping his pitches. And then it came out, no, he's not tipping his pitches, just whatever. But then the Astros lit him up in both of his starts, and the second one was worse than the first. And I don't know. The only reason I could see the Cubs potentially wanting to sign Darvish would be to make the atmosphere more conducive to signing Shohei Ohtani. But I don't see them sinking the kind of money that it's going to take to get Darvish just to get Ohtani, especially when you look at what's coming in next year's free agent market. And given the comments that Jed Hoyer made this afternoon on the Score here in Chicago, I think that the Cubs might not be nearly as active as we initially anticipated in this offseason, because I think that they're going to hold their fire a little bit, try and see what they can do with what they've got, and tread water until next season when you're looking at probably one of the biggest free agent classes ever, biggest and most impactful. So I'm going to say bullshit.
Elliot.
I agree. I think Yu Darvish is actually going to stay with the Dodgers. I don't think he's going to leave there. I think he found a home there, and I think he's going to stay. I agree with you. I think the Cubs are going to kind of, if they can trade pieces away to get an impact picture, that's what they're going to do. I don't think they're going to spend the money, because I think after next season I think that's when they're going to blow their wad, and I think they're going to have one huge contract, and then I think they're going to have one reasonable contract.
One huge contract with Flo.
I gotta ask you an important question there, Elliot. Behind you, over your right shoulder, is that a Hoover upright vacuum cleaner I'm looking at?
Yes, it is.
Yes!
That is a Hoover.
Hey, is
a Hoover wind tunnel.
Nice. Ron, do I need to go get my new Hoover stick vacuum that was delivered this afternoon? Should I get that and put that in camera too?
It is a double-walled aluminum growler that has a
Ron.
PSI gauge that you can actually put CO2 in, and if you go to the breweries, you can fill this up and keep your beer carbonated 64 ounces for up to 30 days, even though guys like us, it's not going to last 30 days. So,
well,
but you just use the little CO2 cartridges, and that's how you keep it carbonated. It's amazing.
I just want to add back to my buy it. A lot of people don't know, but prior to 2012, when Yu Darvish joined the MLB, he was considered the best pitcher in the Japanese professional league.
Until Shohei Ohtani, who is considered by many the Babe Ruth of Japanese baseball. Wouldn't you agree, Scott?
And he will probably go to the freaking Yankees.
I don't think so.
No?
Nope.
All right, so I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to agree with Pete. I'm not going to agree with my brother, that's for sure. I agree with you guys that
a safe call. Yeah.
That no, I don't see him going. Another thing, you guys, I don't know if Elliot, you just brought it up, but his injury history really, and what he's probably going to demand. I don't like the risk for any team really, but I kind of see him going back to the Rangers. I either think it's the Rangers.
You
or the
think
Dodgers.
so?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's either LA or Texas.
I tell you what, I have no sense of where he's going to end up. I really don't.
I don't think Texas is going
to
put out the money for him. I don't think it's going to be the Cubs either. If you
I
would,
definitely don't see it being the Cubs. I'd be surprised.
I think the Cubs
ask me this question in August, then I say yes. But after his performance in the World Series, man, that was really telling. I mean,
I think the Cubs.
I'd be nervous.
I think the Cubs' big impact signing is going to be Alex Cobb, and then a couple of relievers, and I think that's it. And then they just try to make do for this year.
We got to move down this list. My favorite, flat bill pissy pants, Jake Arrieta. Scott, buy it or bullshit.
Where?
What about him?
Where and how much?
I'm sorry. They said Texas Rangers. MLB.com's guess.
I'm going to buy it.
He buys into everything MLB Network says. All right. Yes. Why?
Sounds plausible. Yep. Sounds really plausible. Sure, why not?
Why does it sound plausible?
Well, for one, it sounds like a real name. It's not fictitious. And as far as I know, the team that you named is a real team. So sure, why not?
Okay, fair enough. Wow.
You guys you could just make up names right now. Jancy Yurkovich. Okay. Jancy Yurkovich going to the Yankees. You buy it?
All right. That's a good idea, actually.
I buy it. Buy it. Jansky's got some advanced metrics that really show that he'll make a contribution off the Yankees bench. So I'm buying that one.
And right now he's a free agent.
Obviously.
In his last year of free agency.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, Pete, buy it or bullshit. Jake Arrieta, Texas Rangers.
Sure, I'll buy it because I have no idea what his market's going to look like. I think Yu Darvish's flop in the World Series didn't hurt Jake, but I don't know how long he's got. I don't know the length. Okay. I still think the Nationals are a possibility. Especially given that they've got some familiarity now with their manager and Jake Arrieta. So I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if he landed there to help ease Dave Martinez's transition and to give him yet another ace to hand the ball to on the mound. Okay.
Elliott.
Bullshit. I don't think he goes to Texas.
It's really fast.
I almost think, and maybe this is just the wishfulness and the optimism that I have in him maybe remaining a Cub and keeping Boris out of his ear and saying, hey, you should be able to get 5 years, $155 million.
That's not going to happen.
I just think maybe he stays with the Cubs and maybe he can. Maybe he says, you know what, I'd be okay taking a 4-year, $25 million contract or $25 million a year contract, and just staying with the Cubs because he likes it there. He's won there. He's been successful. Maybe he doesn't want to go. He's unfamiliar with the coaching staff, and they're going to try and tinker with his delivery and. Being with the Cubs, they'll let him ride the way that he is. But I know that this is his livelihood and this is going to be his only big payday. So he's probably going to go somewhere else. And I think one of the places the place that I think he's going to go, which I hate, I think he may go to Milwaukee.
That's what the popular rumor is. So I'm going to call bullshit too on that, and I'm going to say that my guess is he'll go to Milwaukee. And for the longest time, for months, Pete, you and I have been saying Washington Nationals, right?
I think they should let him walk and focus on re-signing Wade Davis.
You were just on the internet.
Yep.
You were just on the internet reading up about that, weren't you?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Scumbag. All right, we're we're gonna work through till number 10 here, but we're gonna bite our bullshit exclusively. We don't have to give our reasons because we've got some other things we need to hit on here. Eric Hosmer, Scott, Eric Hosmer.
Don't like it. I'm gonna pass. I'm not gonna buy or. Yep. Nope.
Do you want me to even say the team?
Nope.
He's just out of the league. He's done.
He's done.
Okay. Pete.
You going to say the team?
Red Sox.
Buy it.
Okay. Elliott.
Perfect fit.
Yeah, that's actually the only one that I agree with. Sorry.
Okay. I think that one's a possibility, so I would buy that one too. All right, Scott.
They're a perfect fit, yeah.
Yep. That's what they do need a first baseman. Scott, Mike Moustakas, Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim.
I don't like anything you just said. Move on.
All right, Pete, Mike Moustakas, Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim.
Well, unless I'm mistaken, I think I read just the other day that the Giants, who are rumored to be the other team on Moustakas, picked up Pablo Sandoval's option. So buy it.
Okay. I'd buy that one too. Lorenzo
Cain goes
Cain.
to the Royals.
Scott, Lorenzo Cain, San Francisco Giants.
Sure, buy it. Yep.
Okay, I can't ask you why. Pete, Lorenzo Cain, San Francisco Giants.
Yeah, they need help in the outfield. Buy
They
it.
sure do. Elliott, buy it? Okay,
Yep.
I buy it too because they do need help, and they're definitely on the hunt for outfield upgrades.
But you missed my Moustakas. He goes to Kansas City.
No,
You don't think he stays?
we didn't miss it.
No, we got it. I'm in a rush,
okay.
man.
You just ignored it. No.
Yeah, we ignored it
Yeah,
because
just-
it's so ignorant. For a second there, I thought that Scott said it.
Wade Davis staying with the Cubs. Scott, buy it or bullshit?
Yeah, I'll buy it, man. That's totally what I said earlier.
You were all over that story.
I was
All right,
all over that. Yeah.
Pete, Wade
Bullshit.
Davis.
They're not going to sink the kind of money that it's going to take to retain Wade Davis.
All right, Elliott,
Bullshit.
Wade Davis, Chicago Cubs.
Yeah, he's gone.
Okay,
He's gone.
I think he's going too.
I
All right,
think you're wrong.
I think he goes to St. Louis.
I think he might go to St. Louis. I wasn't going to say that. They'll come in second place. They always do. All right, moving down the list here. Greg Holland, right-handed pitcher. This is the Cardinals. That's what they're guessing. So, Scott, Greg Holland, Cardinals. Buy it or bullshit?
Buy it.
Why?
I don't know.
I'm going to let you explain why.
Sure. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know anything about anything that you're saying.
This is like when they put Dennis Miller on Monday Night Football. All right, Pete, Greg Holland, Cardinals.
Bullshit. I think that they're going to sign Wade Davis, not Greg Holland.
Okay, Elliott, Greg Holland,
Yeah,
Cardinals.
that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Okay. So for me, given that they've given Trevor Rosenthal his outright release, I think one of these two guys lands with the Cardinals. But I agree with you two. I think they would go after Wade Davis harder than this guy. All right, getting to the end here. Lance Lynn, former Cardinal, Milwaukee Brewers. Scott.
Yep, buy it.
Pete. Lynn.
Not
Brewers.
if they sign Arrieta. So I
Good
mean,
point.
I guess it's flip the coin.
Yep, I that makes sense to me. Elliott.
I think he ends up in Pittsburgh.
That's interesting. Okay. I wasn't considering Pittsburgh.
After all this takes place, I want you to go back to this podcast and see how many of mine I got right.
All of them.
We will do that.
All of them.
We will do that. All right. Number 10. Zach. This is boring, guys. We're going to have to go to number 11 here. Zach Cozart, Royals. Scott.
Jeez.
Buy it.
Pete.
Sure.
Elliott.
I don't know enough about it.
He wasn't tendered a contract by the Reds.
Which tells you something.
Elliott, that didn't stop me.
Sure. Bullshit. No.
This seems like a Royals type of signing here, right? Guy wasn't tendered a contract, has some talent, not elite, but this has Royals written all over it. I'll buy it. All right, I'm going to go to number 11 because I think Pete's interested in this one, probably Elliott too. Alex Cobb, Minnesota Twins.
Bullshit.
Scott. Jump the gun. You wait your
I don't
turn.
even like it. I'm just gonna pass.
You didn't like the question.
I didn't
Okay,
like the
Pete.
question.
No, bullshit. I think he goes to the Cubs.
Okay, Elliot.
Yeah, everything says that he's going there. That's who the Cubs' #1 target is. It has been the whole offseason for the most part. I think he ends up with the Cubs as well.
Plus,
Okay.
his pitching coach is now there.
You know, there's only 4 more left on this list, guys. Let's just keep going through. Carlos Santana. I don't even know anything about him. Indians. Staying in Cleveland. Scott. All right, Pete.
Pass.
You know what? I tell you what. It's a hot one. It's like 7 inches from the noonday sun.
Okay, Elliot.
You missed it, right?
Yep, I did. Totally.
I'll buy it.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
I don't think he stays with the Indians. I think he leaves, and I think he tries to get some money.
Okay, I think he stays, though. Scott. Logan Morrison. Mariners.
I don't like the Mariners. Pass.
Pete, do you have an opinion on this one?
Sure.
We lost Pete at like number 11, I think. Okay, so Pete agrees. Elliot.
Yeah, I don't know enough about Logan Morrison, so yeah, maybe he goes to the Mariners.
Okay.
Mariners always seem to be effective in some way during the year. So they got to do something.
The most success they've ever had has been in the season. That's about it. Number 14. I'm going to skip number 15. You're going to know why, but number 14 is probably worth mentioning here. Scott J. Bruce, Toronto Blue Jays.
Oh yeah, totally. Buy it. Yep.
Pete.
Yeah, he's going to land somewhere. So yeah, why not Toronto? Buy it.
Toronto. Elliot.
God, he's going to be looking for like $100 million.
No,
I don't know if the Blue Jays will sign him for something like that. So I'm going to say bullshit.
No, I think you're looking at like 3-4 years, about $12 million per.
I think he'll get a little bit more than that, but I think he has Blue Jay kind of written all over him. He kind of fits that type, right? I could see him. I could see him going to Blue Jays. All right, Mike Minor. Who gives a shit? We're not even going to talk about it. All right, so we're going to move on to something else. Does anybody even know who he is? I'm sure he's talented, but is he? You could have told me he was a third base coach, and I'd have believed you. Let's talk a little bit about the big rumor out there, at least as far as my team's concerned. And Pete, you had your feeling, and maybe you've read a few things that San Francisco seems to be what you feel is the destination for Giancarlo Stanton.
Well, I've read 3 places. Well, I've read 2 places that are rumored to be in on him hard, and then there's a third one that I think we shouldn't count out. And I think the big thing in part of this is that he has no trade clause. So he can determine where he wants to go, and all the indications are that he wants to play on the coast. So he doesn't want to be in the Midwest, which would seem to rule out St. Louis. All the big talk is that the Giants are the ones who seem to be the best fit and who are being the most aggressive on landing him because they have a need. Their outfield is terrible. So it would certainly seem to be a place, and it fits his requirement of being on one of the coasts. The other one who's supposedly pushing real hard for him are the Phillies, and that also makes a lot of sense. It's a coastal team. They have a nice minor league system that they can draw from in order to get the prospects. It just, I guess, matters how much of this contract they're willing to swallow. The one who I think is most intriguing, and this has only come up in I think the last 24 hours or so, Dave Dombrowski is known for not being shy when it comes to making a big splash. And he was interviewed the other day, and they asked him if the new salary cap limits were going to be a factor, and if the Red Sox were going to try to avoid hitting the salary cap, and he gave a flat out no. So he doesn't seem to care, and he doesn't seem to have a mandate from the ownership that he needs to abide by that and to worry about the luxury tax penalties, which, given their resources and given their desire to try and stay ahead of the Yankees at all costs, I wouldn't entirely rule them out on being in on the Giancarlo Stanton sweepstakes.
No, you know what? No, I wouldn't rule them out either, just on overspending in general. Now, I tell you what, the luxury tax penalties, if you're one of the elite offenders, that's not an insignificant punishment. I mean, it affects you in the draft. It affects you in bonus pool money. I mean, there's a lot of, you get hit pretty hard over the head, right? I mean, if you go way over it. But I think that magic number is like 235, 237 million or something like that.
Sounds right. But if you think you are in your competitive window and you think that this is the move that you need to make to put you over the top, isn't it incumbent upon you to at least look into it?
Oh, you have to do a little bit more than just tires, absolutely. But I tell you what, if they were able to pull off a deal or something like that, assuming that they absorb, let's just say they absorb 90+% of the contract that's sitting there, it's going to cost them. It probably cost them less in their prospects, and maybe Boston doesn't have as many as what some other teams do. But it's all a balance of how much money are you willing to take on versus how many prospects or your highly touted prospects you're willing to give up.
Absolutely.
So if you made a deal like that, if you're Boston, hell, even if you're San Francisco, I'd have to think that a part of you, well, San Francisco, are they in a window or not? I don't think they are. I mean, given the way they finished this year, they're just not.
But given the length of that contract, it really doesn't matter.
No,
as long as he continues to contribute.
Stanton's got a lot of runway, right?
He does.
But one thing is, I think, and I'll tell you why my mind has changed on this, Pete, because we brought his name up before on the podcast, and I've been very skeptical. This doesn't sound like a very Cardinal thing to do, at least not since you had a guy like Walt Jocketty helming at the GM. I mean, he would make moves like that, right? But he wouldn't make moves for today's elite star. He made moves for guys like Larry Walker, for Mark McGwire at a time when Mark McGwire, yeah, he was still a known name, but he wasn't at the top of his game in 1997 when they traded for him. So I mean, it's just a little bit different. Jockey would have made
steroids hadn't kicked in yet.
Yeah, steroids have been there since freaking 80s, man. I mean, who knows? But I'm just talking about the player names, right? It's just a very uncardinal thing to go after Gaka. So I've been as skeptical as anybody, and I would still be shocked. But some of the reasons for it being a possibility are worth talking about, I think. And I think one of them is the Cardinals have the pitching prospects now pooled up in the minor league system to pull it off. And I don't know a lot of other teams that can match what they can give up and what they're willing to give up. I mean, they've got a lot of outfield major league ready talent that they can throw in. They're willing to throw in a number one minor league pitching prospect if they need to.
And obviously this is the kind of move that's going to take multiple players, right? You're not going to get a straight up trade. It's not going to be a straight up salary dump. The Marlins are going to be looking to get something for it.
You would think so. I mean, you would think so, especially with the way he finished this year. They should be able to demand that.
And it would
Jeter has said that their number one priority is to get younger and bring in young talent, and so he's going to be looking to dump that salary for prospects. But these better be prospects that are going to be worth their while. Right. There is not going to be any player to be named later in any of this trade for Stanton.
And that's why it would absolutely make sense to look at the Cardinals, or at least it would seem to make sense to look at the Cardinals as a potential trade partner, exactly because not only word is that the Cardinals have made available one of their top pitching prospects, but also they're going to be able to get back an outfielder or maybe two in that trade because you have such a glut there.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to clear that out, both at the major and the minor league level, and you need to clear some space out of that so that your players can actually start to carry the load or not.
So there's a couple questions I have before anything works. Does San Francisco have the trade chips that other teams do? And I would say,
reportedly, yes.
Okay, but if you just look at what the Cardinals are able to offer, could the Cardinals overwhelm them? I think they're in a position this year where they could overwhelm them with young players that they're seeking.
They could, but have they ever been known to do that? I think the answer is
no, they haven't. No, they haven't. That's what.
And the other thing,
2 weeks ago, I would have said no because it's a very not Cardinal thing to do lately, and that is to trade that young talent. But now that they have a logjam of it in some cases, and let's just say this, guys, Stanton's a little bit of a special case here, right?
Yep.
So, go ahead, Pete.
Well, I think the elephant in the room too is, and I referenced it at the beginning, Stanton has a no trade clause.
He does full no trade clause. In the wild,
trade clause.
There's two big questions, guys. If the Cardinals were in serious contention for this thing, there's two questions. How much money are they willing to take on with that contract? Right? Question number one. I don't think it's 100%. I can't tell you what that percentage is. Number two, would he even go there? Because ultimately it's up to him. Now, I would say this. If the talks are ongoing, that's a question that the Cardinals are going to want to find out quickly so they don't waste a lot of time so they can move on to the next guy. So if this lingers on for a few weeks, I have to think that he's at least open to the possibility, because if he just wasn't right now, I don't think the Cardinals would be active in this in any of these talks. I don't think we would hear about him anymore. If he really wasn't going to go to a Midwest team, and I wouldn't blame him for it. I mean, if he grew up on the West Coast and that's where he wants to go, hey, that's fine. That's not wrong.
I wonder, though.
It's his decision.
I wonder if it hasn't actually gotten serious yet. If they're right now at the point of taking offers and listening on everything, right?
Well, I imagine most teams like St. Louis are going to put a time limit on this thing. I don't think they would stay in talks for this thing into late December. I think they want to get it solved first, because if they don't think it's going to work, I think they're going to want to move on quickly.
Especially with Ohtani looming on the horizon, right? That is all falling into place now. He's signed with an American agent. The NPB and Major League Baseball have worked out an agreement to extend the posting system for one more year so that the Nippon Ham fighters can get paid. And I think every team is going to be in on him, because this year the most he can be signed for is, what is it, 3.3 or 3.6 million. It's given what he profiles as, that's a huge bargain. And so I think that you're right. Any team,
posting fee, right?
Yeah. Well, the posting fee will be separate, but that doesn't count against your cap.
Right. So, it's money out of your pocket. So, but you're right. You're right.
Right.
So it's a very small amount considering how talented at least everybody is stating that he is, and what you see on. Right.
And if you look at it, really, for any team, it's going to be no more than $26 million, right? Or that's what it's going to be, no more than 24 million, because it's going to be, every team will say we'll pay $20 million posting fee in order to get him, and then it'll be a matter of negotiating with him to figure out where he's going to go. So it doesn't matter. Nippon's going to get their $20 million. It's up to Shohei to decide where it is that he wants to go.
All right. So we're going to do the last one we're going to do on this trade talk then, right? Scott, let's start with you. Stanton to the Cardinals.
Buy it.
Pete.
Buy it, but then he blocks the trade.
Okay. Fair enough. Elliott.
That's tough. I think bullshit. I think he goes to a coast.
I would say at this point I would really love it to happen, but I don't think it's going to. I'm going to stick to my guns. I'm going to say bullshit as well. Scott, you may win that one.
Yeah, I know. Why are you acting like I don't know what I'm talking about?
I don't know, man. I have no idea. So, a couple other things. One. Let's just say we're going to talk about one more baseball topic here, unless you guys got another one that you just want to throw in there. But the last one, we're all happy tonight. I don't want to pee on everybody's Cheerios, but we lost a pretty good pitcher who was only 40 years old this week, which was a terrible thing to hear about. But Roy Halladay. Yep. It seems like he was just playing. I mean, he was just playing just a few years ago. It's really, somebody going that soon. It's just, sometimes when people go, it's just life. But this is like one of those things that you just don't,
Feeling your mortality there, my friend?
Yeah, but well,
he was only 40.
He's only 40, but he went down in a plane.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you're wealthy and able to play with toys.
I guess. But
you better watch out for those lightsabers.
I tell you, the only thing you look at here is I'm not getting emotionally into this very much, but if you had been watching like MLB Network or ESPN, just covering like those short 4 or 5 minute clips about a guy's career, staggering how good he was from 2002 to like 2012 or 13, whatever his last year was.
Yeah, somebody posted a comparison of him and Clayton Kershaw, and Clayton Kershaw I think is generally recognized as the best pitcher of his generation. And their WAR over the same period of time, I think Kershaw's was like a 0.1 higher than Roy Halladay's. So yeah, definitely.
He was amazing when he pitched.
And I think he may be the last of his kind. You look at it, and it's certainly not the same as the early years of baseball. But I think the number was something like 16.7% of his starts he finished. And that just doesn't happen anymore.
No. And it was staggering the number of complete games he had.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, it was just a massive number. You're right. I mean, I think
you think about that. 1 out of 6 starts, he was going to finish the game. Win or lose, he was going to finish. You don't see that anymore. Right. It doesn't matter.
No, you don't. No. And when are the days going to start coming to the 6-man rotation? Like, when is that really going to start happening? And I think it's going to start happening sooner than later. It just feels like that's where it's going.
Well, and I don't get the reason behind that. I mean, there's no difference between guys who are pitching in 1980, 1990, 2000 than the guys that are pitching now. I mean, our coaches just not.
Yeah, it's the philosophy.
Relying on the pitching.
Must be.
Are they more concerned about their health? I mean, John surgery came in what the
80s.
Was it the 80s?
Late 80s.
Yeah, it was the 80s because that's when Tommy John was pitching.
And you never.
Well, it's almost like the guy as soon as they sign
undergoing procedures is right.
As soon as they sign him in draft picks,
it's like every guy
schedule it, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Put it on the schedule. 3 or 4 years in, you're going to have one. You might as well just have one when they draft you and just sit out that first year.
Yep.
Right.
Just take a tendon out of your ass cheek or whatever the strongest part of your body is, and throw it in your wrist, throw it in your elbow, do whatever you need to do. Scott, what's your feeling on that?
Right. I have no idea. Sorry, I was reading.
All right, guys. I think that's gonna. We're gonna take a. We're gonna take a quick break, at least from the baseball talk here, because I want to get to something that is actually important, and that is, guys. Did you read today? Now, as you know, the good thing about all of it, we're all here talking about baseball, right? But at least
3 of you.
3 of us are talking about baseball, but now all 4 of us can talk about one subject, because today we had some news come up concerning something else we love. This is what Pete was talking about earlier. He was trying to make it sound all weird and everything, but the one thing Pete and I love just as much as baseball, and I know Elliott's right there with us, and I know Scott is there too, and that is they're going to make a new Star Wars trilogy. However, this one's going to be outside of the Skywalker saga, and it's going to be helmed by Rian Johnson, who has He wrote and directed episode 8, The Last Jedi, which is going to be out, in 35 days, guys? 34 days?
Yep. Oh, I am so excited.
Yeah, it sounds...
Sell it, Elliott. Come on, sell it there.
Hey, I do want to do this.
We need to cut that into the newest trailer.
We got a little bit of taste last week when we were talking on the podcast, because they had dropped that 45-second trailer.
I know,
man.
And nobody even knew about it, and it was crazy because they made that huge deal about the Monday Night Football trailer. Yeah, and this one showed more Luke in the Millennium Falcon, and
like he knew where the light switch was going in there, right?
Right. Oh yeah, he's like, hey, was it one of the where you wave your hand next to it?
It might have been like a paper towel dispenser.
Yeah.
I would have loved it though if he would have elbowed the door like Han always had to do to get the lights turned back on.
Put it in there and then everything kind of lights back up, and it's
So, guys, to stay with the theme of what we were doing with free agents, I want to do this real quick, guys. Let's speculate here. I'm gonna throw out a couple eras or storylines that Rian Johnson could potentially be creating this new trilogy around. So, you guys say buy it, or Ron, you're full of shit, right? Ready? All right.
Yeah.
The Old Republic.
Oh, I'd absolutely buy that.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I would line up to see that.
That's a totally unexplored era. I mean, as far as the movies, and I think he could do a really good job with that.
Okay, what about between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens, Scott?
I mean, I'd buy it, but not the most interesting to me.
Okay, now I'm going to go back to Scott real quick before I go to Pete with that one. Scott, what if they did a Marvel and Star Wars crossover universe?
I hate that.
I'm so glad you said that, man. I was worried about you. That was a test. That was a test.
Even though I love both, no, I don't. No.
Okay. Pete, between episodes 6 and 7.
No. Because I think, excuse me, I think if you're going to go away from the Skywalker saga, then you need to go away from it.
Yeah, you need to go far away.
Get completely out of the timeline.
Well, I think you can though. I think
sounded like you had a grabber, didn't you?
Elliot, you all right? I thought maybe something happened. Like,
No. I think you can go away from the Skywalker saga in between there because you've got Luke hiding away during this time. So you've got a lot of rebel war, the faction of the Empire breaking up after the Death Star explodes. And we were talking earlier before we started recording. I just started playing Battlefront 2, which takes place in between the end of Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens, and it starts right after the second Death Star explodes, and they have troops, rebel troops and Empire troops on Endor, but you're playing from the side of somebody who's on the Empire. And I think that would be an interesting take for a new trilogy, to go with somebody who's maybe on this journey and is with an elite squad. It's for the game. It's called your Inferno Squad, which is an elite TIE fighter pilot, kind of spy sort of thing, sort of person. And it's just like, you believe in the Empire and you believe that the rebels are a faction,
terrorists,
right? Broke off faction that is trying. You're right.
Yeah.
They believe that they're kind of like ISIS or something like that.
Well, so it's like looking at the other side of it and humanizing those people in the Empire who were behind white helmets or always in black or gray uniforms, that were very, very very Nazi-esque, right? How that original trilogy went. Even the Imperial officer outfits were like, come on, where did that inspiration come from, right?
They were doing it for love of country, and they were just following orders.
Right.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good twist on it. I keep going back to, let's face it, it is a movie studio. It is Disney. I don't think they're going to go too crazy, but obviously something in The Last Jedi has given Disney, I don't know, made them optimistic and given them hope to give Rian Johnson a trilogy of his own. So it makes me curious what about The Last Jedi has made them think, man, let's give this guy his own trilogy. I don't know.
No, I agree, but I think I agree with, I'd say yes. My own question, is it going to be, first we're going back, is it going to be Old Republic, or do I feel it's going to be between episode 6 and 7? And I would agree. I think they need to get outside of the timeline. I think if they're truly going to do a new trilogy, let's already not confuse, the fans that are kind of maybe in and out, not like we are that follow it as closely. But I think if they do it right, I think they'll finally get out of this Skywalker like timeline, right, and get completely out of it and go. I think they will dip into the past, because if they go into the future, it could potentially reveal things that are going to happen over the next, into this trilogy, maybe the sequel trilogy that continues the Skywalker saga. So I don't think they'll go ahead, but I agree. I think they'll go in the past and a whole separate set of character stories.
They're good connected in some capacity, though. I mean, you look at Marvel, which all under the same company now. They're always sprinkling those Easter eggs or the connective tissue in between the movies, and that it's going to come up in some capacity. Whether they
if you want to do that,
Republic, they can have Yoda in there. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Or they can have a reference to Yoda or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well,
I can see that.
And I think if you go to the beginning of the Jedi, I mean, Yoda was 1,000 years old when he died.
900.
I mean,
and you call yourself a Star Wars fan?
Because he said 1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're
I
pulling
think if
the-
you
you're
go,
pulling the
I
Kenobi
think if you
plug.
go getting to when the first Jedi temples were found,
Mhm.
and I think that would be a very intriguing story if you can tell that, and you can tell that right, because with some stuff like Star Wars Rebels kind of deals with that with the Sith holograms.
Yeah.
Yep.
And there's both Sith and there's light. So I mean, I think you maybe kind of explore that a little bit, where the Sith came from, where the Jedi came from, where that balance sits in the universe, and how it came about. I think that would be a really awesome story.
Yeah, and I think they could in the past to explain that, outside of this Skywalker, I call it Skywalker timeline, and I'm talking Phantom Menace all the way up through The Force Awakens. To explain that outside of the context of all of this, I think would be as interesting, if not more. That's why it's not, you're not crisscrossing there, which I think for me, just personally, I'm ready to. I'm looking forward to the sequel trilogy continuing. I mean, that's where most of my interest comes from. Is I want to continue to see what happens with the main storyline here. But I'm so ready for like all the canon material, whether it's Star Wars Rebels or comic book series. I'm so ready for something to be kind of like outside of this stuff. I mean, I would actually welcome more material in between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. And it seems like all the comic book things and everything, even Rebels, it's always like before episode 4, between episode 4 and 5. And I'm kind of like, man, I'm ready to get out of that.
Yeah. I'm tired of that between A New Hope and Revenge of the Sith, and I just feel like that's an area that's been tread over, and
What?
I want to see a whole different part of the Star Wars lore that we haven't seen before. And I think I think to keep it fresh, so it's kind of like Rogue One, that was almost like a heist movie.
Well, and if they're gonna make a new, it was like you're right. It was like a heist. It was a Star Wars story, but it was the bank robbery story, right? So it was really. Right, or like an Ocean's 11, or like an Ocean's 11 version.
Yes, I think you can, and that's what I would like to see. I would like to see almost like a different subgenre set in the Star Wars universe. Whether that's, I don't know, maybe something more so like scaled down as far as like threat level. I don't want to see something that's like intergalactic threat of blowing up planets and all that crap. Just more like scale the story back, make it a little bit more intimate.
So something kind of like the stories of like the Force Awakens, or not the Force Awakens, the Force Unleashed, kind of like that kind of story sort of thing.
Yeah, something like that would be awesome.
So I'd like this. Here's the thing. I enjoyed the movie Logan a lot, right? But it wasn't, to your point, Scott. It wasn't like a into the world threatening thing where you dove and hit the off button at the last second. It's like the movie Armageddon's one of the worst I've ever seen, because there were so many last second heroics.
Yeah.
Like, I just slid under the door before it shut, or I just hit the button. You get burned out on that real quick. But the story Logan was, you're right, on the scale, the consequences to everybody else, and everybody else in the world, it really didn't matter. And I'd really love to see an Obi-Wan Kenobi standalone movie that was something along the line of Logan.
I would love that. Well, okay, here's kind of go along with your point. Okay, the Dark Knight trilogy. You look at the first, Batman Begins and The Dark Knight Rises. Both of those, the city was in peril. The Dark Knight, on the other hand, you only had basically the climactic battle at the end was 2 boats that were going to get blown up. So it
ended up being like it ended up being the best one too. I think
it was the best one. So that's where I think if you scale back the story, and I think an Obi-Wan Kenobi story, especially after maybe he's been a hermit for a little while and he's kind of lost maybe a little bit.
Batshit crazy.
Yeah, I think almost like the last kind of like a Ronin samurai type story where maybe he's got one last hurrah, before he.
Well, and they kind of hint at that in Rebels, where Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Maul have that final standoff, and man, I wish they would have done that a little bit differently, but it showed how powerful Obi-Wan Kenobi actually was, and you know that there was a lot that Obi-Wan Kenobi was doing to protect Luke when he was a child.
Well, you notice he didn't ignite his lightsaber till Maul figured out, wait, you're not just here to hide, you're protecting someone. And as soon as he said that, Obi-Wan lit that lightsaber up, and he didn't mess around, man. He just was very efficient and went right after him, took him down. Pete, and I don't know if you've seen some of those episodes yet. I don't know how much of the Rebels you've been able to watch. Did you catch any of those?
I haven't.
Oh, damn it. All right, so no for Pete here. But yeah, no, so we were talking about the sequel trilogy. I would love to see it set in a different time, in a different era. I think that's what most of us Star Wars fans that follow so close, that's what we're hungry for. Now, there's another thing that came up today, though, and this is the last thing we're talking about Star Wars. We're back on. We'll touch on baseball real quick, and we'll get the hell out of here. Live-action TV series was confirmed today by Bob Iger during a quarterly earnings meeting.
But I don't know if you
guys caught
that's going to be for the streaming service, right?
For the streaming service, yes.
That's awesome because they've been talking about that since like the mid '90s. Obviously before the Disney acquisition, but I think a live Star Wars TV show would be great. It could have that smaller, more intimate feel. I'm just afraid. Looking at with Disney television properties, like I'm thinking ABC, for example. I don't know if anybody watches Shield or Agents of Shield.
I watch it, and
it's
that's kind of my.
It's hit or miss.
It's good. Like Agents of Shield is good, and I feel like that's one of their better ones. But I feel like they would have to. The stories would have to be kind of like how they do Rebels, where it's a part of the lore, but it's not the main part of the lore. So
what if they resurrect the Level 1313 series that they were working on?
But oh god, that would be amazing.
That's fascinating. You're going right where I was thinking. Actually,
I didn't even think about that.
That's what I do.
All right, guys. Well, it was. I know we interrupted yet another baseball show with Star Wars news, but I think people have figured that out by now. When something like that breaks, we're going to throw it right in there. So most likely what we'll do here is we'll have a baseball version of this podcast and then an edited one, and that'll be the video one that everybody can jump in and see, just like the one Scott was on when the trailer premiered, because I'm sure everybody
remembers the highlight moment that Ron wants to play right now.
Yep.
Well, I wasn't queued up for it, but you're right. I don't even remember what you're talking about, Pete. It was that was a long time ago. So anyway,
I was tempted to give it to you live, but I know that you just wanted to hit the button. So
I don't know how you can reproduce that because that had an energy to it that I don't think. No, I can't know it's coming. You hit me with that, and I didn't even know it was coming, and
missed it. You missed it in the moment.
It was good.
All right. So anything else that you guys want to I offered this before we started breaking into the Star Wars talk. Is there anything else baseball wise or a rumor or anything out there, speculation that you think that's worth throwing out there right now?
Well, there's a rumor and I'm actually intrigued by it. I don't know that it'll happen. Supposedly it's already been shot down, but there was a rumor a couple of days ago that the Cubs and the Giants were talking about sending Jason Hayward's dead contract to San Francisco for Jeff Samardzij's dead contract and Mark Melanson's dead contract. That absolutely makes sense for both teams, except that all three players have no trade clauses.
Yeah, and the likelihood of convincing all three to do it might be tough. But I tell you what, man, that would take care of two problems for the Cubs. I mean, okay, take care of three, actually,
take care of three problems. It would really change. If the Cubs could pull that one off, that would change the arc of their offseason because they've suddenly addressed two of the areas that they know that they need to address, and that's starting pitching and relief pitching. And it's also helped clarify the situation without having to cut into their core. And you know that they are in love with their position players. They clearly haven't given up on Kyle Schwarber yet. And I think that probably the person who would get the most interest on the trade market is probably Ian Happ, because I think he right now has the highest ceiling because he hasn't shown what his floor is yet. And so I think that there will probably be a lot of interest in him. And I think that the Cubs are going to be really reluctant to part with any of their core players. So it would absolutely make sense if they could pull that trade off. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I think that would be tough too. But boy, you think about it, right? It could potentially solve that closer problem real quick. It could soften the blow with Arrieta leaving and losing. Sorry, I'm going to say it, John Lackey too. I mean, it's a starting pitcher that can eat innings. So it would soften that blow, and then of course you get out from under the Hayward contract because he's never going to opt out of it.
No, he's not. He's not able to opt out until next year, and he would be a fool if he did.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, the only way he opts out of that is if he hits 320 next year with 35 home runs and 115 RBIs.
I still don't see him opting out of it because I don't think that any other team in the league is going to think that that's anything more than a fluke.
Right, because it's only a year. Because
it's only 1 year, and prior to getting to the Cubs, his numbers had been pretty steadily declining. It wasn't sharp, but it was a decline.
Well, and even his best, one of his best years at average. I think was this 1 year in St. Louis the best average he hit? I think it was 285.
I think it was probably his best overall year as far as average power. Running
his best year.
No, his best power year.
I think
his best power year was with Atlanta,
over 300.
His best power year, but I think
his best overall year, I think, was the year with St. Louis.
Yeah. Okay, so I think everybody there was. I mean, St. Louis offered more money, so I think everybody was betting that he still hadn't hit that ceiling yet, and clearly, I don't think he's ever going to. I mean, the guy's got as much talent as anybody you see. It's hard to watch a guy like that. Just cannot seem to figure it out.
Yeah, it's because you look at how fluid and athletic he is on defense, and it's just hard to believe that he can be that herky jerky when he gets into the batter's box. I'll certainly be glad is able to do with him this year, but it's going to be. I think it's going to be a really rough contract to watch. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Ron. 2015 was, by WAR standards anyway, his best year. He put up a 6.5 WAR with St. Louis. He hit 293 with 13 home runs, 60 RBIs, and 23 stolen bases. And he was only caught stealing 3 times.
Yeah, but wasn't his best average year with Atlanta?
Nope, his best average year was 2015 with St. Louis, 293. So He was easily his best overall year. He hit 27 home runs with Atlanta in 2012, but he only hit 269. And that only translated to a 5.8 WAR. He actually was more valuable his rookie year. He put up a 6.4.
Yeah, it's just about a 240, 260 hitter is what you can probably bank on. I know this year may have been a little bit worse, but I think
he was 260 this year.
Was he 260? Yeah, I mean he's a 260 hitter. Yeah. That's what you're going to get. Yep. That's what you're going to get out of him. And if he has a good year, he's going to hit 20 plus home runs. If he doesn't, he's going to hit in the single digits or teens, and that's just what you're going to get.
But with Jason Hayward, the problem isn't his average. The problem is the quality of his contact, right? You can take a 260 hitter who's going to give you 20, 25 home runs, but a 260 hitter who's only going to give you 11 home runs. Even with elite defense in the outfield, he's not worth what he's getting paid.
No, he's not. I mean, you think about it, right? As many times as he hits the top side and it just rolls a ground ball over to second base. I'm like, if he could just loft one to the outfield when they need him to a little bit more often, it would be so much better. But yeah, that's a screwed up swing, man. It's going to take a mad scientist to fix that, and that's a rough one to watch for sure. Because I mean, for all intents and purposes, we got to experience him for years. St. Louis is a nice guy, you enjoy watching him, but man, yeah, that's still a lot of years left. What, 6 years left, right?
I think it's 6 years.
Damn. All right. Well, anything else, Elliott? Anything rumor-wise that you want to get out there on the table? Because we've only got a few more minutes left with Scott, and I know he's dying to give us his. Is he asleep with his eyes open?
I think so. I think he actually drew his eyes on his eyelids. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go out on a limb here. I think that the Cardinals are actually going to be one of the teams that defines this offseason, because they are in on so many rumors. And because they have so many needs to fill, but they're also dealing from a position of strength, I think that they're going to play a dominant role in this offseason's market.
I would agree.
Free agents, and trades.
Yeah, but it remains to be seen how much they actually dominate. They're going to dominate a lot of the conversation.
Well, I'm not right, but I'm not saying necessarily that they're going to be signing a half dozen free agents. But I think that their involvement in the market is going to help to set the market, and everything else is going to follow from that.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with that. And it's very easy to tie St. Louis together with a lot of these guys that might be available either by trade or free agency, because they have that. Look, if you're missing a bat in the middle of the order, like we've said for a year now, and there are bats available, you're going to be tied to them, right? Yep. There's going to be some kind of link there or some kind of speculation is going to be generated. That's easy to do. You had a bullpen collapse. If they're bullpen arms, you're going to be tied to that. If you're down a starter, you're going to be tied to that. So yeah, I agree with you. They've got a lot of needs, and I think that's why they're brought into this conversation. So,
and also because the Central Division looks to be down again this year, at least where we stand on November 9th. And it looks like one of those divisions where one or two players can make the difference for a team.
Yeah,
100% agree.
I think prices are going to get driven down this year because of how good next year is actually going to be. I think a lot of the asking prices for these top pitchers is gonna go get down, and I think there's going to be a lot of last minute signings and a lot of last minute trades because a lot of these GMs are gonna wait to see who's going to make the big move, and I think a lot of the big moves are going to be made late. So at the beginning, before the offseason started, I thought there was going to be a lot of active movement right after the World Series, and because nothing has really happened already, I think it's going to be until after the coaches' meetings, and I think it's going to happen a lot later than a lot of people anticipated, and I think that's going to drive down a lot of the prices for some of these top pitchers like Jake and Yu Darvish, and they're not going to get what they really want or what their agents are asking for.
Well, Elliot, I don't disagree with you on that, but understand that the reason that there weren't a lot of moves immediately after the World Series ended is because I think it's 5 or 6 business days. There's a window where teams can't be signed by anyone outside of their own team. So the only thing that you would have seen during that window would have been teams re-upping or players re-upping with the team that they were already with. But I agree. I think the pitching market is definitely going to be depressed because you saw a lot of players with opt-outs not take them. Particularly impact pitchers who stayed with their teams.
Masahiro for the Yankees.
And Johnny Cueto with the Giants.
Yeah, I saw both of those guys becoming free agents and going
not surprised.
I think that they know. Yeah.
I can't say that I'm surprised that Cueto didn't opt out because he had a horrible season and he wasn't going to get that kind of money. But yeah, Tanaka. I mean, I think that there was definitely an argument that could have been made that had he opted out and gone out of the market, he could have increased his salary. But obviously, there's a level of comfort there with the Yankees that he wanted to stay with, and to that end, I think that is going to depress the starting pitching market a little bit, because those are 2 fewer starting pitchers that are out there available to teams that are looking for an additional arm or two.
But that would spell that would be good news for guys like Lance Lynn, who obviously he's not going to take St. Louis's qualifying offer unless the whole pitching, unless the demand for pitching just completely tanks and he can't get anything. Maybe that $17 million for one single year might seem a little more attractive, and hold out for next year. But yeah, all right, guys. Well, this has been.
Elliot's falling asleep. Scott is asleep.
Scott's already he's done with us. But yeah, guys, thanks for joining tonight. I know that we got on here a lot later than what I expected to. But Pete, once you before I do that, Scott, where can anybody find you? Don't give us your address.
You can find me on Facebook. Yeah.
All right, here. I'll take this one.
I was saying you caught me off guard. Sorry.
No, that's all right. Elliot, where can anybody get connected with you at?
You can find me at Facebook. Just search my name, Elliot Dewey. You can also find me on Twitter at DeadGecko. You can also find me on Xbox Live at DeadGecko if you want to get down on some Call of Duty or Destiny or even some Battlefront 2.
Sweet. Pete.
You can find Scott on Facebook by looking for Bad Critic Podcast, but of course he didn't remember that. So
no.
As for us,
you can also find me on Twitter at Bad Critic Media.
Ooh.
Sweet. I like the sound of that.
As for the team of rivals, iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play, and TuneIn if you want to listen to us. As you probably know right now, if you're watching, we're live on YouTube, and that's something that we look to continue. You can always find us online at teamofrivalspodcast.com. Contact us at the show at teamofrivalspodcast.com. And as always, on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, like, share, rate, review, tell the world about us. Season 2 is coming up soon. And you're already in on the ground floor. So why not be a hipster and tell people that you listened to us before it was cool? Help us make it cool.
Please help us make it cool. All right, everyone. Hey, guys, thank you so much. Hope to do this again real soon. I like having these big round tables here. All right, guys. We'll talk to you again about the same time next week. Bye, everyone.